I'll have a look, and then once it has, wait, if you send me the link to it, I can put it up on my server so people will come watch. Yeah, it's gone up.
Okay, hello and welcome to the FRL F4 round 2 for the second race of the season, Chinese Grand Prix. We are coming here to the Shanghai circuit. We've got 16 drivers, which is I think the most we've had probably ever in F4, even in GHR. So it's great to see all these drivers returning once again. Also someone who's returning for the, I think now, second time really in a row is Mr. Dan Richardson. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these drivers can do out on track in China, and I hope a lot of them improve on last week's race in Bahrain, and they come out starting strong and they finish strong, and hopefully we see the majority of the people finishing on track.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I think we had, I believe it was 10 finishers last time, with Humanoid being the last of the finishers. At the moment we do have 16 drivers, but you know, during the race that can definitely shorten quite a bit, and some nice peace and quiet as we're loading into the session. 16 drivers battling it out around China. I imagine we'll be seeing times around the 30s. I think a 31.0 or slower will be a little bit surprising. I know, I think VIP GJ Game is quite fast around here, and Evil Zook, but the rest are pretty unknown from my side. But it's going to be interesting, and it's a dry qualifying session, so that means I guess we'll get more of a perspective of who's the fastest, won't we?
We will, and some of these drivers, they have the potential to do well, like we witnessed last week. Top 3 people that finished did extremely well in Bahrain, but coming onto a track like China, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them, especially around turn 1 and turn 2, and probably around the final turn. So it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can do going around those corners, because you've got to be able to go at a speed that you're going to be able to get around those corners at without causing an incident.
Definitely. Just waiting for the first driver to get out on track, but it's very refreshing to see all these drivers lining back up. We've got Steve and Odyssey coming back to China once again for another season. Anyone who remembers, I think it was F3 with Amesto, where it was, I think the start of the race was wet, maybe into conditions, and then towards the end of the session, as finally I think a few cars are going to come out on track, which is always worrying because you think there's a glitch. But I think Amesto was chasing down O'Steven to the last lap at the hairpin, where obviously he dive bombed in and got past O'Steven. That's the closest O'Steven's ever been to a win, so he's going to want to get some revenge here at China and try and win in F4. That's going to be the aim, isn't it, surely, for O'Steven, who's still yet to get a win in F4.
Yeah, like we witnessed last week, and everybody that was watching, he's a very good driver, and obviously he proved that last week, getting P2, I think it was, and I think that he can possibly go for a P1 this week and start battling it out with his teammate Demoniac, who got the win last week, in very impressive form, if I do say so. Because like I said last week, he was struggling to get wins and nothing was going right for him until last week, and hopefully we see him do the exact same again today. But I'm looking forward to seeing what O'Steven can do for us this evening.
Yeah, definitely. Ayrton Senna, the man in the McLaren fitting quite nicely, is on his outlap. He's going to be the first one to take us through a lap. We've got 15 viewers, which isn't bad. I think F3 is a bit slow as always. I don't think Mads and Macho, who are commentating in F3, have a better connection. So I guess if you're watching here for F4, you're going to be very happy to know that I think we'll be quite early with our finish. But Ayrton Senna and McLaren, he's going to round off the last corner, and he's going to start us on a lap coming through the last corner. He's actually going to get an invalidation here, and yeah, so he's got this, the next lap invalidation, and that's his lap over. So isn't it Tyres Power next? And Tyres Power, I don't think you've commentated on Dan before, have you?
No, I mean, I was commentating on him in the pre-season race, and he did extremely well there. I mean, I think he did crash out in the pre-season race, but he's another driver that you need to watch out for because he's really quick from the start, and hopefully he proves that again today, and hopefully he gets his first points of the season, and hopefully we see him battling it out at the top of the grid to try and get that win. But there's also a few other really good drivers on track that didn't finish last week that I think have the potential to do well in this league. So it's going to be interesting to see what some of these drivers, especially Tyres Power, Demoniaco, Steve and Andy, see what those lads can do this evening.
Yeah, and anyone who remembers Bahrain last week, Tyres Power, his Dutch teammate Alpking, he actually got P4 from more or less the back of the grid, if not the back of the grid. I can't remember exactly, but the AlphaTauri team do seem quite strong if Tyres Power can hook up a lap, and he's not really hooking this one up just yet, but he hits that apex quite nicely, so he's got that part of the Sector 2 right. Coming into, I think this is turn 11 and then to turn 12 here for the second bit of the Snell section. There's a lot of Snell sections here in China, just the two, but it is quite off-putting with tyre temps as tyres can really heat up, but coming down this home straight, if you like, he's going to be reaching around 204 miles per hour, just maxing out it seems at about 200, braking around 100 metre board for the hairpin of turn 15, and then this is usually where the DRS detection point is, so keep an eye out the gaps around this part of the track, and braking 15 metre board, he runs a bit wide but he doesn't invalidate, and this is going to be the first lap of the qualifying, and it's a 31.9, so pretty respectable.
Yeah, that was a very, very good lap from him there. I think he can actually do better though. And there we go, Alpha King goes in pole position with a 131.8, so the times between Tyres Power and Alpha King is really, really close. So obviously I think we're going to see the likes of Demoniac, Stephen, all the lads that were near the top last week. I think we're going to see those guys possibly going to be trying to battle to get the fastest lap and get themselves into pole positions. It could be very interesting to see what these guys can do on their laps in qualifying with just over 12 minutes left to go.
Demoniac here on a medium, he's going to round the last corner, taking it quite nicely, carrying a lot of speed through it. Is he going to be pole? It's close enough. I mean, 8 tenths on the mediums, put on a pair of softs, even though he doesn't really like to do that. He does love the alternative strategy. He's going to be looking in fine Fessel. And Stephen on the mediums as well, so Ferrari are looking good. But someone who's also looking good is Illicit Brownie in a McLaren. What a lap that is. And VIP GTA Gamer pips that. So they're all flying in. And now what's Ayrton Senna going to do about this? Oh, okay. That would have been nice to get another pole in a space of 3 seconds. I also got Alpha King wrong. He's in the Alpine. Tyres Power teammate is actually Vilvo, who's in a pits. Is Andy the next on the lap? He invalidates. So I think... who is next on the lap?
Well, we've currently got Lewis. It's coming up. This actually was on his out lap and he's just gone into pits.
Yeah, I think maybe Zook? Nah, he's down on his time, but he's going to carry on actually. So, I think maybe... I'm not sure why he didn't pit there, to be honest, but maybe just trying to get in the laps, get used to the track, as there's an Aston Martin going through. That's Humanoid. He was actually improving by a fair bit, 5 tenths, which would have put him ahead of R7 Cryptic, but he's not going to improve, as he obviously invalidated. But a lot of people are out on the track here, aren't they? I guess maybe they're just trying to get used to the track, as it is quite easy to spin around China, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said earlier on, that turn 1, turn 2 and the final turn, they're all really difficult turns to get adjusted to, so going out early is probably the best option here, because if you can get those first 2 and the final turn perfect, then I think you'll be all right going into the race. But it's going to be the start of the race where all the people, where everybody's going to be flying in to try and get into P1 right from the off. So they've just got to hold back a bit and be patient and catch the guys in front on the straights, because that's where, especially in the DRS zones, that's where you've got to try and catch the guy in front to try and get yourselves up a position.
Oh, Arise is out. Sorry to butt in there, but Andy, I think, is going to show us here the view. I don't know. Arise is, I think, on exit. He's kind of done an Albon just on the left side rather than the right side of the gravel. That's a very weird way to lose the car, but Arise there showing how difficult the last corner can be with the new curb. Did you catch that, out of wonder, Dan?
I don't actually know. I didn't actually catch what happened. Um, but I think he might have actually just spun a bit and, like you say, like spun onto the gravel and just causing him an incident, causing him to go out of
Ooh.
qualifying. But I
Oh no!
think, oh,
I think Humanoid tried to spin back around and got a disqualification. That's poor from him, but you know, I think he loves the alternative strategy himself as well. So I think there's an Alfa Romeo finishing on a lap. I think that's Bar actually starting one. So see what Bar can do, the American, but Humanoid does like to start towards the back to just avoid the carnage. So that he won't be too unhappy about that. And yeah, I think Bar's... This seems a bit of a slow lap, but yeah, he's now, as you can tell, pushing, especially with the hot lap engaged on the Alfa Romeo. His teammates up in P9, so Alfa Romeo is underperforming quite a bit in this qualifying session so far, but I'm sure they'll improve as the session goes on. Into the long sweeping left-hander of turn 7, a little lift off, using 7th gear actually, rather than 6th, so that's an interesting choice. Bar opting for 5th gear as well, so he's using quite a lot of high gears, I guess, to reduce the wheel spin. Coming through the second sector split just a few seconds after here. We'll see whether he's up on his time or down, and it's a 51.9 as he hasn't actually done a lap, so that's poor from me. But more yellow flags being waved as Paul's left the session. Bar nearly invalidating there, so maybe his setup isn't away. He's looking pretty nervous lap, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, you've always got to be careful on your first couple of laps. So, like I said earlier, you need to get adjusted to the track and stuff like that. So I think he might do all right here, as he is coming up around that turn, coming up to the final turn now. So I'm just going to wait and see what time he gets, because I think it will be a good lap. I think it might be enough to get pole position actually. No, he's just missed out there with the 132.5 P6. We saw last week in Bahrain that he was near the top of the grid in qualifying, so I think he does have the potential to do better than that. But I think he's just trying to get the feel of the track to start off with, and then I think once he gets adjusted to the turns and everything, I think he'll start flying around this track and he'll be up there battling it out.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree there. Oh, Stephen improved by 4/10, but this is on a softs, of course, so don't get too carried away just yet. I think Tyres Power is the next one on a timed lap, as I believe there's a lot of outlaps at the moment going on, so I think people will be aiming to do 2 more runs. Tyres Power here, going to come through the second sector split. He will have a second sector split as he's half a tenth up, so he's got quite a long way to get to P3, but on the wheel he is obviously around China, so he's going to have to be really careful with being on the traction, I think, which is a lot easier obviously on pad. But the AlphaTauri number 20, is he getting a slipstream from his teammate, I dare say? I think he might be. I mean, I'm not sure whether it's going to make the difference. We'll see by the end of the lap. I think he is. I think he will focus all the way there. I don't think F4 has ever had that before, so it's quite nice by the AlphaTauri to show each other some love there for this qualifying session. Tyres Power is actually a really good last sector, this looks like. What's it going to be? It's 3/10 improvement, so Tyres Power is up there for pole. Really good lap from the Dutchman, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think...
Oh, Stephen Pole!
Wow.
What a lap, jeez!
The time difference between Stephen and VIP GTA Gamer is really, really close, so I think those two will have a great battle at the start of the race. But I think once they get out of the first 2 turns, I think that's when the grid will start to spread out a bit.
Oh, sorry, Ayrton spins. Yeah, I definitely think Stephen in a race will be maybe more favoured than VIP GTA Gamer. Maybe he's pushing, I think, around the last corner. I think VIP GTA Gamer is, and he responds with what a lap that is. Wow. 30.6. Stephen's probably going to be worrying here whether VIP GTA Gamer is just a little bit too far away there. That's a very respectable lap. I dare say that's probably maybe more like F3 pace, but 5/10 for Stephen. Stephen had a good lap there, but he's going to have to be banking here on VIP GTA Gamer to have some more bad luck in the race. And so Stephen, he's gone for a spin and needs to be careful there. Hopefully he hasn't crashed into the barriers that gets an awful camera angle, as he's just struggling to get back onto the track, but he does. It's his P2 for OC, and he's not usually the best in the qualifying sessions, as Alpha King as well. He sticks in P2 as well. So a lot of guys are improving at the moment, and you got your eye on anyone at the moment coming around the track?
Yeah, I'm watching Demoniac. He's coming up towards the final 2 turns here, and he's not going to be enough to get himself back up into pole positions because he's quite a way out of his time. But I do believe that he will be going into pits. But I was just watching Lewis, and it was unfortunate for him because he had to go into pits. He did because his fuel light was flashing at him. But I think that had he got around the first couple of turns a bit quicker, a bit better, and he pushed himself a bit more, I think he could have actually been up there in the top 5. But hopefully he'll come back out of pits to try and get another lap in before he... Oh, bloody hell. Before qualifying finishes. So it will be interesting to see what he does. But I am currently watching Illicit Brownie, who's on that massive straight now. He gets the DRS. I think he may be going into pits because his fuel light's also flashing at him. He's just coming towards the second to final turn here. Let's see where he'll put this, because it looks like it could be a very good lap, because he has just gone on the second final turn at a 120 here, but it looks like he might be heading into pits. Yeah, Pits.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a good lap for
Who's
him.
that? I think that's Alpha King as well, who's rounding the second to last corner off their hairpin. He's actually going to finish this lap, so is it going to be competitive? It doesn't look bad. It's close, actually, to be fair, for a second push lap, but will he have enough time for one more flying lap? I'm not really sure. Demoniac is another person we should keep our eye on. He's on the softs, actually. We never see Demoniac on the softs. Round the last corner, this could be dangerously fast here from Demoniac. What's it going to be? Is it maybe top 5? It is top 5. So close to his teammate. Very good lap. Yeah. The 2 Ferraris as well. 3rd and 4th. Sorry, you were expecting him to go where? Sorry.
So I was expecting him to do well in qualifying. I was expecting him to be up there, and he has just proven to me that he will be up there. So I think between Demoniac and O'Stephen, those two are going to be going head to head at the start of the race, because I think O'Stephen's going to want to get revenge on Demoniac for obviously getting the win last week. But I believe that we saw Ferrari 1 and 2 last week. So it's going to be interesting to see if we see that again this week, because they're both very good drivers. And like I said, they've both just proven that with their times being extremely close in qualifying. Just over 2 minutes to go here, and Demoniac is going for another lap, I think, but it will be interesting to see what happens with him. Just gone down to Lewis KYFC that's about to start his flying lap now. So it'll be interesting to see where he puts this and see if he can get himself up there at the start of the race and into the battles. Yeah,
there's a lot of outlaps, and there is a timing glitch, so when it does hit 0, I think there's probably maybe an extra minute, so people who like VIP GTA Gamer, they're going to probably have enough time for one more run, so be careful about that. But Demoniac is rounding the last corner. Is he going to finish this lap? It doesn't really seem as though he is, but he is, so I think this could be a quite dangerously fast lap. What's it going to be from Demoniac? It's a marginal, very marginal improvement, but an improvement nonetheless. So is he going to have enough time? I don't think he will. I think VIP GTA Gamer and Alpha King, and of course Stephen on an outlap, will all be able to. So that could be Demoniac's qualifying session ended with a P4. That's a little bit disappointing, I dare say.
Yeah, I think he could have gotten better, but at the minute I am currently watching Lewis KFC, who comes down onto that final massive straight just behind Paul's Got Bull. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Lewis does with this, as he's on the softs, as he goes around the McLaren there, as he's coming up to FRL. Paul's Got Bull. He has got the DRS. He's hit the 205 mile per hour, 206 actually, 207 there, as he's coming around the second final turn here. I don't think it's going to be quite enough for pole position.
Paul's pushing as well. That's an issue, yeah. I don't think either of them are going to kind of get out of the way of each other, because they're both setting laps. As you see with here, Paul, he doesn't set the best of laps, and Lewis, he's only P8, so he's quite a way off tyre power, but both of them not really putting in competitive laps. Paul is very fast around China, I know that for a fact, so he's really, probably you could say underperforming, but he is on the medium, so keep an eye out for that. I think there's 2 Ferraris who are both coming round the last sector. Demoniac's not going to be on a lap. Maybe there's a Haas. Andy's improving, so Andy here could possibly put it maybe P3. I'm imagining Max, if he finds some time in this last sector. The man in the Haas He looks really good in pre-season around Spain, but then in Bahrain I think he did crash in the middle sector, so he's going to be wanting to get back in the points here. As looking...
It's going to be a very good lap.
Yeah, I'm just looking at when it's 120, and I think just as he hit the apex there, it was about 120 mark. He navigates the curb quite nicely. He could have maybe extended it on exit, but it's going to be a little bit off where he probably wants it, as qualifying's apparently over, but there's no checker flags out. Tyres power isn't going to improve. Not seeing many improvements here. Maybe the track's actually getting a bit colder. As Cryptic, I say that. Cryptic improves. And now the checkers flag going out. So this is going to be everyone's last run as Brownie's finished off. Just looking at O'Stevens improving by 3/10. So I think O'Stevens going to be the next one of the heavy hitters to finish their laps. As he's just struggling a little bit out that snail section, O'Steven, but coming down the home straight with a nice orange helmet. Going to see what he can do. Anyone else improving, do you know, Dan?
I don't want to jinx it, obviously, but I think that Andy might be actually improving on his time a bit here. He's just about to head himself into Sector 3 here, as he has done. It wasn't quite purple sector, though. I think he did improve on Sector 2, though, so I think he might be on to be improving his lap, as he's now coming down that massive straight now. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he'll put this. I don't think it will be quite enough to move himself up any further, but if he can pick up the pace a bit on this final massive straight using his DRS here, I think he might have just enough to possibly, as he hits it 119 going around that second to final turn. He gets rounded at around 120 there, coming up to the final turn. It's not going to be enough here, but he is got a 128 going around that final turn, coming onto the final straight now. He doesn't improve, he gets a 132.4. I think he could have done better in qualifying, but obviously, like we said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the race. But unfortunately for Andy, he will be starting P6 unless R7 Cryptic BPI GTA Gamer. Wow, what a lap.
And I think that's going to be... It is pole, as Cryptic has gone wide and Tyres Power hasn't validated. It's, I think, his, I dare say, second pole in a row. I'm going to have to check. The comments probably will tell me, but I imagine, knowing VIPGA gamers won that pace, it probably was his second pole in a row.
It was two Lewis's last week.
Oh, it was. So let me just see, because I think... Oh yeah, that rings a bell, because I think he was around 6th place-ish. But it is the day, a Dutch one too, actually, this time, with a Williams on pole. So it's going to be very good for the Williams team, with, I don't think there being another Williams driver, I dare say, as Day Knight is obviously gone missing for this race. But Alf King is second, O'Stevens in third, sorry. But what were you saying there?
I was going to say, the two Ferraris are in the top 5. I think O'Stevens was up there last week, but I think Demoniac was a bit further out last week. But this week we've got both Ferraris in the top 5, so that's going to be a great start from them. And I think if those guys get off to a good start to the race, I think we'll be seeing 2 Ferraris in the podium once again. So hopefully we'll see what they can do.
That's going to be scary for the other constructors if they do manage to get into the a double podium once again for the second race in a row. They're going to be absolutely running away with the constructors, and we're 2 races in, and it is raining! So that throws a massive spanner into the works. So how's your consistency, VIPGA Gamer? It's going to be a tough one for him. He is on wheel as well. Yeah, I think probably VIPGA Gamer's better than mine. But yeah, it is awful. It's very slippy. It's just like, I guess, what's a good comparison? Pouring bleach all over your floor is very slippy, just as that. The curbs are awful around China, especially in the rain, so these drivers are going to have to be very careful of that. And that makes me think the Alfa Romeos, if anyone saw there, they were 9th and 10th. I reckon they are running wet setups, and they've deliberately done this. Talking of Alfa Romeos, Evil Zook's left the session. His internet, I think, was a little bit dodgy before, so hopefully he can rejoin before the start, and I hope we have formation lap on. I think we do.
We do.
As who's that? Is that? I hope that's not Evil Zook. Oh, it is. Okay, so I really hope there's no glitches here, because knowing Codemasters, one little Evil Jazuka rejoins, but I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to take over on the formation lap, so this is all a bit confusing, especially given it's wet conditions, but the drivers aren't on slick tyres, so I'm not really sure here whether it's actually wet or not. I think it is, but the drivers will be pitting surely for Inter soon.
Yeah, we've got...
Oh, Andy's left as well.
First 9 people are on softs. First 10 people are on softs, and then 11th downwards are all on the mediums. So it's going to be interesting. People pitting for the inters, and if it gets wetter, we'll see them pitting for the full wets.
I have a feeling VIP GSA Gamer here is pushing. Is it because he's going to pit? Because I've never seen in a league race, even though I am not the most experienced person in the world to say this, I've never seen someone pit under formation lap. But then again, he's warming up his tyres now. I thought for a second he would have done what we saw in Hungary, where everyone pits under the formation lap for slick tyres. And alone Lewis Hamilton stands out, as we actually do have Lewis in a Mercedes thinking about it, which is quite fitting. But he is in P8, as I think someone went sideways there, and that was Paul spinning. That was Humanoid. Humanoid didn't spin there, but Paul's been disqualified. So it's a bit chaotic here, isn't it? I think a lot of people... Volvo is... Oh, there's a few disqualifications. I can't tell who's that in the back. I think that's Andy and Evil Zook. No, Evil Zook's quite far up, so hopefully there's no glitches here. I hope all the guys like Andy and Evil Zook can join back without there being any need for a restart. But at the moment it is the Williams on the right side of your screen on pole, followed by the Alpine of Alpha King. That is the run down into turn 1. Alpha King's going to really have to hug that inside curb and try and slot down the inside into the first corner, which turns into the second corner pretty fast. So we'll just be waiting, I think, for Andy to line up on the grid. I don't think Zook's joined, as he's actually off his grid slot. I'll take that back. He's now back on it. And the drivers are readying up their cars. Oh no, we do have a glitch. Oh no, we don't. We don't have a glitch, and it's actually VIP GJ Gamer who's in second place, it seems, just behind her for Andy. But it looks a little bit chaotic towards the back. Oh, Stephen needs to be careful not to get shoved off. Illicit Brownie's going down the inside, as Paul's got balls, as you say, spins with Evil Zook. It looks fairly clean, I dare say. Oh no! Oh, Stephen's off. Oh, Stephen's plummeting right down the order. Demoniac hasn't had the best of starts, so I'm just trying to see. I think Lewis gained 2 positions there, but Stephen spun, so it's a little bit chaotic of this start, and Lewis actually kind of slams into the back of Tyres Power there, so a little bit chaotic here. Andy's still yet to rejoin the session, and VIP GHM, he's actually gone off as well, so it's really chaotic, isn't it, in these first few corners?
It is. I was literally just watching Stephen there, as he actually spun, and it was unfortunate for him because he was actually he was driving perfectly, and when it goes around the corner and he spins off the track, so it's unfortunate for him now, and he has got serious wing damage, so he will have to be pitting. I think most people will be pitting on this lap for the Inters to give them the best chance, but obviously it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to take about a lap or two, and Andy does actually join back. It's going to take about a lap or two to warm the Inters up, so they're going to have to take it easy once they get the Inters on, before they start flying around this track again to try and catch up with the guys in front.
I dare say if Andy joins right now in the lead, he might get a 5-second penalty from no fault of his own, but his AI has done a brilliant job, hasn't it? His AI is almost going to be leading. His AI is actually leading, and VIP GC Gamer, I think he's going to pit for Inters here. So Andy, if he joins right now, he'll be in the lead. Right, I imagine it's going to be into conditions. I think that will be the case, as Demoniac sets fastest lap, as Andy's obviously in AI mode, so it won't count, but everyone's into the pits, and who's going to risk it? Ayrton Senna's risking it as well, he's staying out, and a few others, I think. Paul's got balls as well, he's staying out, and pretty much the whole field is into the pits. I think that's Evil Zook, because he's in AI. The AI definitely doesn't think it's into conditions just yet, but it is going to be VIP GTA Gamer exiting the pits, who is your, I guess you could say, provisional race leader at the moment in P6 out of the Inter runners, as the timing splits are just kind of sorting themselves out at the moment. But any action further down the field, Dan, or anywhere around the field which you can commentate on?
Well, yeah, I'm actually watching Demoniac now as he is sitting in P2 and he is gaining on Andy right now. But Andy does, obviously he's in AI mode, as you said. But Demoniac has just got purple sector 2, so it looks like he will be on for the fastest lap as Andy has just spun there. So Demoniac will take P1 there. He has to move out of the way quickly to avoid any incidents there, just in case. But he does take P1 there. So now we've got to try and get away from everybody as soon as possible. But I feel like he may be pitting this lap to try and get onto the Inters, get back out there, and hopefully he will be getting himself back up the field and getting himself back in the race.
Yeah, Andy there, he's been handed a blessing, hasn't he, with his AI getting a brilliant start. I dare say the stewards will be giving him a penalty. Obviously no fault of his own, but talking of connection issues, it is Evil Zook who is in P5 and he's left, but Demoniac is deciding to carry on again. He's done a 42. Let's see what GTA Gamer will do on his next lap, because this is the lap he pitted. And DRS is enabled, so this could be a brilliant strategy here from Demoniac. I think is it lightening up? If it is a brilliant call from the Ferrari driver. But who knows? Does it look like it's lightening up to you, Dan? Because it does seem to be brightening up a little bit up in the skies.
Yeah, it does. It does for me as well, and I think that Demoniac, along with a few others, have actually gone with the perfect strategy. At the start of the race, I was thinking just pit for the Inters, but now looking at it, as you said, it's brightening up a bit here. So I think Demoniac, Ayrton Senna, Evil Zook, and Paul's got Bull. I think they've all gone for the perfect strategy of staying out on track, getting as many laps in as possible on the tyres they're on, and just trying to go for those fast lap savers. We actually have got Bar, Humanoid and O'Stephen that have all just pitted again by the looks of things to go for the slick tyres. The VSC has been deployed.
I think Humanoid, that makes sense there. He was going off at turn 1. I was wondering why exactly, but looking at the tyres, as you said, soft tyres, I think the grip difference on the softs and on the Inters is going to be quite drastic. I think that was a brilliant call from Humanoid there, because he's going to be making up a lot of places if there are going to be dry conditions in the future. He's got absolute understeer for days. I'm not sure whether he's got damage. He does have damage, and that means he's going to probably have to pit, so that's obviously it's going to be a shame for him, and he's going to have to be careful with his ERS. He doesn't want to keep it on overtake through the corners, as he will be spinning out, as it looks as though the Inters are quite slow. But then again, Demoniac's pitting, so do you think that will be for Inters, Dan?
Yeah, by the looks of things, he may be going for the Inters, he may be going for some more slicks here, I'm not too sure. But right now I am actually sitting on O'Stephen here, who keeps gaining on R7 Cryptic, and yeah, Demoniac has gone for the Inters there, but O'Stephen, he will be getting DRS by the looks of things on R7 here, so it looks promising for O'Stephen as he goes on the inside of him there, as he does look like he's getting the overtake, and he gets the overtake in there, which means he will be moving up to P13 here. Now he's got to make some time up and catch up with Humanoid.
R7 Cryptic's not going to go down without a fight here, and he dives it down the inside of the Ferrari man. It looks a good move. O'Stephen's going to try and get a switch back, but I don't think he's going to be able to. As Cryptic, that was brilliant attack into defence. He just parked it on the apex. O'Stephen, he looked for the switchback. He's going to look for the switchback into the outside, I think, of turn 1, and he's going to have the DRS as well. And Cryptic cannot surely make a move into turn 2 here, as especially being on the Inters, I think the dry tyres are going to be faster at the moment. As looking at the fastest lap is by Demoniac, and I think that was on a pair of softs.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's actually going on. Sorry, I'm just flicking through people here and I'm currently
me too.
I'm just trying to video. I'm so sorry, I'm losing it today.
Nah, Evil Zoot, just looking, he's actually joined back into the session, so that's good to see for his sake. Hopefully he doesn't leave again. I don't want to jinx it either, as I think that's Humanoid possibly who's spun, but it does look like Evil Zook might be pitting, and as he does pits actually, and I imagine that's for Inters as he understeers massively, like a certain Lewis Hamilton did. But it's actually going to be Paul who takes over the lead here, and I think this is the first time Paul's ever led a Grand Prix, and it's his teammate Humanoid is in the wall. Oh no, it isn't Humanoid, it's Evolvo, I think. So Evolvo is having an awful day on the exit, just past turn 1, and he's lost his front wing, so that's not going to be great if he wants to return back to the track or return back to the pits and obviously get a new front wing, as there's more yellow flags, and I think that's tyres power, maybe. I think that was, as everyone's understeering into the pit lane, but there's actually a massive pile-up here around Alpha King area, or so it looks like on the mini-map, but Dan, you seeing any action, or you still trying to fix around the spectator menu?
Yeah, I'm actually watching Lewis KYFC here, as he's right behind Illicit Brownie here. It looks like he's also got quite a bit of understeer here, and Lewis is getting him, and he goes on the inside of him there, getting the overtake in there. I think the grid is actually messing up a bit here. Or it looks like there was an overlap there from Lewis, but Lewis is now trying to push to catch up with Bar here. Bar is right up the back of the rise, but I don't think Bar's going to be able to do anything here. He might be able to. I'm still unsure. He's getting close to rise though, and it looks like the overtake will be coming any minute, as they are heading on to that final straight now very shortly. Got a couple more times to go here.
I think there's a Mercedes who spun, and I think that's Lewis. And it's a virtual safety car. But I was just going to say there, Paul, look at that, he's already lapped Illicit Brownie and Evolvo. I think Illicit Brownie was up in P6 or 5 even in qualifying, so Paul is on an absolute flyer here. He's just stuck to the mediums. He doesn't care about what the conditions are. He's sticking to the mediums, and I think it's a brilliant call at the moment with all the pit stops people are making. He's been quite clever, isn't he? Just kind of sticking to his own plan and not just ignoring everyone who's pitting around him.
Yeah, what I think he's actually trying to do is he's trying to get everybody else to pit, and then he can try and get as far away from everybody else as possible. As he's actually getting away, I'm not too sure right now. I think Demoniac's actually gaining on him right now, but Paul's got ball. He's actually, what I think he's trying to do is to stay out on the slicks, get as far away from the drivers as possible, and then he's got that space and he's got that open air then to just get away from people and push himself up the grid a little bit, and hopefully he will be able to keep this position, as we do see VPI GTA Gamer there as he does overtake Bar. I know Stephen by the looks.
Demoniac's off, yeah. Demoniac went off there. I think just as you cut away, Demoniac decided to go for a spin. He was actually gaining, as I think you said on Paul, so is it back to slick tyres? I swear that the drivers are going to be just baffled after the race how it all happened, because I don't have a clue what's happening. I think you guys probably have more of a clue than we do, and we have obviously all the tools at our fingers. As let's say Brownie's retired, and that could be a safety car, and it is a safety car, so that's going to file everyone right back up into the queue. And Paul, does he pit now for Inters? I think it would be a good idea, considering the Inters looked faster when Demoniac was pushing, and he is going to stay out. And Humanoid's got another drive through, just like in Bahrain when he got 2. So he's gonna have to be careful though, Humanoid, not to get a second. But
doing better than what he did last week though.
Yeah, in Bahrain he set the bar pretty low. But Paul, he's staying out. Would you say that was the right call? Once again, as you were saying, he's trying to pull out a gap, I guess, out towards everyone and just stay in that P1 spot. But looking at Ayrton Senna, he stays out as well. So who has a clue what the conditions are? But Dan, if you had to guess, do you think the Inters or slicks are, or dry tyres are faster?
If I'm honest, right now with everything that's going on, I'm not too sure myself. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the race plans out, because it is still raining here. So possibly going for the Inters for 5 or 6 laps might be the best option. But look, Humanoid's retired as well now, just looking down the grid there. But as I was saying, I think the dry tyres are actually looking faster. So it's going to be interesting to see what the other drivers on track decide to do.
Yeah, and just looking, both Aston Martins have had absolutely split fortune. Zumanoid sadly doing nothing. Obviously his second official race in F4, but to be fair, he did score points on his official debut in Bahrain. So to be fair to him, I don't think he could be too sad about the start of the season. He's slowly going to get better, but in terms of Paul, he's leading this race. So the Aston Martins are absolutely split apart here. And just looking at some of the other teams, the Alfa Romeos have I think they've stick to their exact qualifying position. I dare say. Evil Zook and Bar, they're very close on and off the track, but they're right close to each other here in 8th and 9th. They'll be looking to make some progress on a certain man called Stephen, who went from, I think it was P3, I dare say, in qualifying, or P4, and he sadly dropped to 7th, and the pole sitter, we said how's his consistency, he's sadly down in P6, but this safety car is definitely going to get him out of jail, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the guys that are near the back now, they have to use the safety car to their advantage to get themselves back up the grid, because once they get back up there, they then know that they're back into it, and then they can start battling and pushing themselves back up. Like the Ammoniac sitting in P4, this is his chance then to try and counter-attack with the safety car and get himself back up there. Oh, Stephen, who's also sitting down the grid, sitting in P7, who was at the top last week, he's got to use this safety car to his advantage to get himself back up there.
Mm-hmm. And someone who you commentate on, I think, quite frequently is Arise in the Red Bull. And he's in P3. Somehow, I think Arise, we didn't even say his name throughout the whole of the race of the 8 laps. But he is somehow in P3. Hopefully he doesn't have any penalties to his name, and I don't think he does. Maybe he served them in the pits, but he pitted for Inters. So if the Inters are faster, we could see Arise here take the lead of F4 in China. I think that would be absolutely ballistic for not only himself but for Red Bull and all the fans, because I don't think he was probably someone you'd put down, would you, to kind of go and grab a podium or even a win in his Chinese Grand Prix.
No, China's a very difficult track to do, so if you can get yourself on that podium in China, you're a much better driver than you think you are, because if I'm honest, if this was me on track, I'd probably be sitting at the back of the grid, already been like overlapped 3 or 4 times, so for these guys to still be on the grid, it's something very special for them, especially the guys that are currently sitting on the podium. They've just got to now try and hold out and keep this podium position.
Yeah, I'm just thinking here, Cryptic, I'm not sure, is he glitched? No, he's left the pits, but he's gone for dry tyres, but he's going to have to be some sort of absolute animal on this outlap here to catch up to the pack, because he has pitted for another set of tyres and he is the last man who hasn't been lapped, so I guess the safety car will be waiting for him. But Myland, his next person who will be catching up is Mr. Tyres Power on the Inters as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers on the Inters, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare. I imagine they're going to drop down a pecking order, because the Inters don't seem faster despite it being rain. I just think their sauce probably going to warm up faster. But Arise is pitting, and if that's for dry tyres, I think that signifies it is dry conditions. But do you think it's for dry tyres?
I think he might be going for the dry tyres. It looks like he will be doing.
It's Inters, I think.
Right, sorry mate, I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. But just looking at the fields here at the moment, in terms of, I think, where everyone will file out after the pit stops, Demoniac is still the man in the prime position to go and win the race. Hopefully all the drivers stay in more or less single file on under this safety car. But Demoniac, considering he's got 7 lap fresh tyres than Paul and Ayrton Senna, as I think that Ayrton Senna just takes out brake marker boards, but Demoniac is probably the man in prime spot to go and win this race. Alpha King is now, after Arise's pit stop, the top Inter runner, so he could also be, if it starts to rain a little bit heavier later on in the race, a man to beat and probably get a podium if he can have some luck going his way. Don't discount O'Stephen as well, as Dan's back, which is good to hear, as O'Stephen's now in P6.
Sorry to interrupt you. I've just had a call off my fiance and I've got to rush off. Something's happened, so I've just got to go.
Yeah, no worries. But I'm not sure how I might maybe be able to get a co-commentator here, but hopefully Dan returns. But if he doesn't, I will line someone up. But at the moment, safety car will be coming in hopefully this lap as we can get some action back underway, as Paul is going to be the man to lead us off from Ayrton Senna, just 2 tenths behind here, as we've got 15 viewers apparently, so it's great to see all the 14 people tuning in, as I think last week we were having around 7, but Ayrton pretty eager, as you can see there, to get it underway. I don't think but Mylander will be staying out any longer, and he is going to be coming in this lap, as Paul looks like he's gone a little bit early with the safety car. He's actually gone off the track here, and Ayrton Senna has also gone off the track, so Demoniac, I think, isn't going to overtake them, but he might have had an opportunity to, as I think the game would have allowed him. But it is going to be Paul leading away the pack of cars from Ayrton Senna, from a certain Demoniac who will be looking to win the race. VIPGJ Gamer, he's in P5. He's going to be trying to get past Alpha King here. So let's see if he can get close to the Inter runner. And the Inters, I think, are actually slower. So Alpha King's going to be dropping down like a stone, I imagine, as VIPGJ Gamer just breezed past him there. So Stephen, I imagine, sooner rather than later will be getting right onto the back of Alpha King. That's looking through the rest of the order. Evil Zook and Alpha King spun on the Inters. So that just, if shows anything, I think the Inters are definitely slow, as Evil Zook, he's going to be one of the faster drivers on the sauce. Stephen going side by side with him, but I think Evil Zook thinks better of it into the sweeping left-hander of turn 7. But Evil Zook is all over the back of Stephen here. These two drivers off the track have a lot of banter, but on the track they take it as seriously as each other. But Evil Zook is all over the back of the Ferrari, just sniffing the tail of the pizza car, as Evil Zook coming to the end of this second sector. He don't think he's going to be close enough to maybe make a lunge into sector 3 unless he gets a good exit, but Bar making up a place as well on a rise. So both Alfa Romeos making slow and steady progress up the field. Looking down Evil, though he's been lapped, I think now goodness knows how many times. I think we'll have a look here quickly. He's actually been lapped only once, so he's the man who should be probably discounted from winning the race. But Arthur and Cryptic doing a bit of Tokyo drifting, or Chinese drifting, as VIPGA Gamer, he gets past Demoniac, who's I think struggling a little bit. Demoniac enables overtake here, and I think we're going to get three-way, three side by side, as Demoniac is trying to have a piece of this, as VIPGA Game is going to go down the inside of Ayrton Senna. This is a stunning move from him, the Williams man, and Ferrari trying to get involved, as Ayrton Senna is looking like he's struggling on the grip of those used medium tyres, as Paul, he's pulled out 2.1, make that 2 second, well the gap's actually coming flying down here to VIPGA Gamer. He does look the Williams man, the man to beat at the moment. He's got the pace totally, as it's 1.6 now, 1.5. So, I mean, VIPGA Gamer at this race is going to catch Paul and overtake him by the end of the lap quite easily, as I think there's an overtake with Evil Zook making it around the outside or inside, I'm not sure there, although Stephen as Bar I think's got past Andy, so that looked quite a good move from Evil Zook, just catching the end of it, and he's on the softs as well, which are going to be quite good in these conditions, as they are obviously the grippiest tyre, as it seems as though, just looking through the rest of the field, I think Tyres Power is quite close to his Dutch counterpart of Alpha King, as Ayrton Senna as well, he's getting quite close to VIPGA Gamer for the second spot. There's more yellow flags, and I think Bar has spun, which is very easy to do, as Dan was saying, qualifying. And that's probably going to be his maybe podium fight there, out just like a match, as Andy's in P7 here, running quite a nice race, as VIPGA Gamer, as we were saying, he sets fastest lap on the slick tyres, or dry tyres, as Paul is right in touching distance of him. And I think VIPGA Gamer will probably want to get past him sooner rather than later, given his pace in these conditions is looking pretty strong, as Paul is looking a bit all over the place. And is he going to get him this lap at VIP GTA Gamer? I think he's going to get him. Paul goes off the track there, but it is the lead for the Williams man, and he's surely going to be storming off into the distance of this Chinese Grand Prix. As I think there's an overtake actually by one of the Red Bulls as a Rise pits there, so got a bit excited there for nothing. But Demoniac as well, he's going to be trying to have a sniff of Ayrton Senna, as there's a lot of action at the moment. As a bit surprised Iwazuki's not closing down Demoniac as fast as I would have thought on those softer tyres. As I say that, he starts to slightly gain as there's more yellow flags, and I think that's Andy here. So 7th place curse seems to be quite a thing at the moment, as Arise is on the back of Ty's Power, and he's actually going to go for a dive bomb, and Ty's Power is going to leave the space, which is quite nice of him, but he's actually going to keep the position. So good racing between the two Honda engined cars, as Paul's actually going to go down the inside of the hairpin. VIPGA Gamer is going to make a bit of contact with him, but the Aston Martin is putting up quite a big fight here. You would have been mistaken to think Paul would have dropped down the field, as they are gapping the McLaren man of Ayrton Senna. But Paul, once again, he's using the overtake here. He's going to get right up close to the IPGTA game, and he thinks about going down the inside, but thinks better of it. It's really good racing from these two for the battle of the lead, and we're not even halfway through, as Demoniac is going to be trying to go round the outside of Ayrton Senna, but fails to do so, as it does seem Ayrton Senna doesn't really have much pace, but he does seem to have the consistency, as Demoniac is going to try and pull alongside, but can't quite do it, as he's going to just kind of edge towards the outside there. As Ayrton Senna through the middle sectors, just about holding him off. Demoniac is just all over the place, but it's quite difficult to overtake in his second sector, as it's very difficult to kind of go round the outside, especially in his wet conditions, as Demoniac is all over the back of Ayrton Senna, who's a bit all over the place himself, as there's more yellow flags, and I think that's R7 Cryptic who's losing a place to Alpha King, and he's going to be dropping out of the points. But this is not actually helping Iwazuki too much, as he's struggling on his softer tyres. He's looking like he's going to get another 5th place finish at this rate, but knowing F4, nothing is confirmed until it's the very last lap and last corner, probably even. As Andy picks up a penalty, but Demoniac, is it going to be inside or outside? It's outside for Demoniac into the hairpin. A brilliant move from the Ferrari man. I think Ayrton Senna has actually done a really nice move back on him. So the racing between these two is quite special, as Ayrton Senna, I think, just sent it down the inside in return to Demoniac, who left the door a little bit too wide open. And Demoniac's probably going to be wanting to get a move on, as there's more yellow flags, and that's an Alpha Tauri who's gone off, and Vilvo. He's lost his whole wing, and that's going to be a very long day at the office. And he's going to be probably wanting a few retirements if he's going to have any sniff of points, but he's going to keep on going, which is good to see. And hopefully you get more finishes than Bahrain and last week, where we had obviously 10, as Arise gets past his teammate R7 Cryptic. But Demoniac still on the back of Ayrton Senna. I think if Demoniac gets past Ayrton Senna, he could make a charge towards Paul and VIPGTA Gamer, as Paul has a penalty I've just seen, which is 3 seconds. And VIPGTA Gamer is actually spun. Is he going to lose the position to Demoniac? He is. And it's P4 for VIPGTA Gamer. And that's a pretty big surprise, considering he pulled a 1.2 second gap. So this race is really unravelling for him after taking pole and then struggling to keep pole after all the disconnection issues and weather changes. But it's P4 for him at the moment. He's already gaining right onto the back of Demoniac in no time, as Demoniac's going to have the DRS here. Ayrton Senna's running out of ERS, as Vilvo, or Ty's Power, I think, is now off into the gravel trap probably. Demoniac is going to be outside line. He makes a bit of contact, and Demoniac there, he's surely going to be pitting. Oh, it wasn't pretty there. I think just with kind of aquaplaned into Ayrton Senna, as Ayrton Senna is also going to pit. So that's a bit of an odds one. Hopefully they don't crash into the pits, as Demoniac backs out of that one, and it could have been a lot worse. A lot worse for Demoniac there, as I think Stevens now up into a podium position as Evil Zook's pitting as well, so don't discount Steven for this race. Given the amount of times VIP GTA game is spun and how Paul needs to make another pit stop, I think Steven here could be in a position possibly to win the race. Obviously, put in your comments in below if you want to predict who's going to win, as it's still an absolute lottery to see who's going to win. As Ayrton Senna just looking, he's actually spun on fresh tyres on the softs, which I think proves maybe the softs aren't actually as good in these kind of wet conditions at the moment as we would have thought, as a rise sets fastest lap on the mediums, which actually comes to a bit of a surprise, as I wouldn't put him as the fastest lap contender, but he's going along quite nicely. He's actually in a points playing position, so he's at the moment got 2 points to his name, but Demoniac is right on the back of Ayrton Senna, and I think Demoniac might have spun as well. Since Ayrton Senna spun, Demoniac surely would have got past him if he didn't spin himself, but as I think there's a driver going off, an Evil Zook, he's absolutely kamikazed into the wall. I'm not sure whether he's got damage, it doesn't seem like it. I know, Evil Zook, I think he's lost his head here, as he's just doing donuts here for all the fans at China. It's a bit sad to see after, obviously, a nice qualifying session as Paul spun himself. So it's absolute, everyone's all over the place on this track, as Steven, I think, is going to be probably making an overtake. No, Paul dives into the pit, so it's going to be P2 for Steven, chasing down VIP GTA Gamer, who just had the ounce over him, or the few tenths over him in the qualifying session, as Evil Zook leaves after a bit of a rage quit, as Evil Zook, if he brings out a safety car, that wouldn't be too impressive, as he does bring out a safety car, and oh, that's not the best thing to see for F4, I'm sure. Sadly, he's going to be picking up probably a penalty there, as it's going to probably, I dare say, ruin VIP GTA Gamers race, but he's then again going to be able to have a free pit stop, as Illicit Brownie's in the comments saying, Ayrton, come on, he's obviously in P5 on fresh tyres, so can no sauce make it to the end? 12 laps, but then there's probably going to be 2 or 3 under safety car, so it's going to be very close, nip for tack there, if he can. But just looking at the comments, I think Parrot's there tuning in, a avid Steven fan as well. Steven back to back podiums, hopefully, but we see Evil crashing out as well, as another Evil's in P13, so Evil will be, or Evilvo will be hoping for 2 more DNFs, and then he will be obviously up into the point for his first official points ever in FRL, as everyone's just kind of joining the queue of, or train of cars here, as I think VIP GTA game is yet to catch up to the safety car. So is he going to pit? I imagine he's going to go for another pair of mediums. I think a softs would be a little bit foolish of him, as he does pit, which I think is a good idea. But is Steven going to pit? Is there much point of Steven pitting? I mean, he's going to get the lead if he doesn't pit, and he does, which I think is a good decision for the Ferrari man, as Andy, I'm sure, will pit as well for a pair of mediums. I think anyone who goes for softs is going to be quite foolish, as Andy does pit as well, as it's a very weird pit entry there with all the white lines. And I think, I dare say Ayrton? No, Ayrton's way too far back, I think, to take the lead, but VIP GTA game is going to catch up to the safety car pretty soon now. As just seeing Ayrton Senna, he's going to be taking P3 with those fresh softs, so it's going to be really interesting to see whether those softs can last. I know a few McLaren fans for Ayrton Senna will be hoping obviously he can make it to the end, as well as Demoniac, who is the winner of the Bahrain race. It's looking like a podium is possible, but I'm not sure about a win. We've seen how poor these softs are in these kind of mixed conditions between the dry conditions and wet conditions, as Steven's gone off. Steven's going to have to be careful to try and not lose that position, because if he can keep it on track and keep the soft runners behind, and VIP GHA Gamer maybe spins, Stephen could be in the running here for his first ever win officially in FRL, ignoring GHR obviously, which we don't really count, which is I think a little bit unfair, but you know, all part of it, as Alpha King's going to be joining the train of cars here, and he's on the hards, so I'm a bit confused why he didn't pit for the mediums, but you know, I think those hards obviously will be making it to the end. He's gone for track position more than anything, as just looking through the field as Alpha King catches up, Andy's caught up, and now Bar's the next one, the only Alfa Romeo left in the race. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe Arise can catch up. I think he'll catch up to the queue. Can Cryptic catch up in time? Once again, he is playing catch up Cryptic after the first safety car where he was, I think, the furthest man behind, but I think the furthest man behind now is Tyres Powers. Evilvo, looking at the leader, I believe he's been lapped once or twice, because, okay, he's been lapped twice, so I think it'd be good if he pits, to be honest, maybe, and lets everyone by, but he does think better of that, so Stephen won't be too happy with that, as he's going to obviously have to make his way through the ghost car, as as RPG Gamer flexes in the comments there, having the lead. He's going to have to be careful to not get too cocky here. Obviously, he's conceded the lead twice, so he needs to be careful what he wishes for, obviously, as Cryptic is going to be catching up in no time, I'm sure, as we at the moment have a 9-car train, as you can see. Hopefully no one goes side by side, as I think Demoniac accidentally goes side by side there, or a little bit past Paul, as Demoniac, hopefully they don't do this switch around thing, as it is, I think the game is a little bit confusing with this, as it does say for you to pass the car ahead, but as it was obviously clearly quite annoyed there about the spin, which is obviously not great for him, but to be fair, if he was even still in the race, I reckon he could have been in the points, as he's the man P5 in the championship. So looking at the championship standings, which isn't a bad idea, just so all the viewers obviously know how is it faring in F4 at the moment, who can become the most, or the inaugural F4 world champion. It is, just looking at the standings, Demoniac obviously, with an 8-point gap over Lewis. Lewis has crashed, so the next place car, as Stephen, I think, has... Stephen's got a penalty there, and Ayrton Senna, he's got a penalty as well, twice now, for hitting Stephen and hitting Paul, so that will get removed if it was deemed by the stewards unfair on the drivers. I don't think that's going to put Stephen out of contention. If he can get it removed, he can still, hopefully, if he overtakes the PGA Gamer, maybe take the win. But I didn't really catch that, so that's a bit of a shame as Paul gets past Ayrton Senna. It's a bit chaotic here, as everyone needs to calm down and go single file here, because this is a little bit chaotic at the moment. As Paul's trying to get past Stephen for whatever reason, as he should be P5, but Stephen gets a collision with Evolvo, and it's all kicking off here. The drivers need to calm down, as you're supposed to go side by side. Paul, for some reason, pits now, so that was all a bit pointless from him, but they're going to get back underway. Stephen's going to go through Evolvo, and how many penalties does Stephen have? He has 10 seconds, and I'm sure both of them will get removed if they're as stupid as the ones he received with Paul there. So he's going to be on a charge towards VIP GTA Gamer, but VIP GTA Gamer with a 3.4 second gap, that's going to be quite hard to overcome, as Demoniac is right all over the back of Ayrton Senna. He doesn't have any penalties, so I think Ayrton Senna will keep those penalties, considering how I think aggressive he was probably under the safety cars. And for Andy, he's going to try and get past Bar, and that's a good move from Andy. So Andy's making his way up the field. I think we should probably keep an eye on a penalty. So Andy's got 6 seconds, actually, to be fair. So he's going to be struggling. As though Stephen spun, and that's not going to be at all great for his chance of getting a second successive podium. Oh, and it's pain for Stephen. More bad luck in China. as he's going to be plummeting down to P9er, and I think Demoniac is going to be all the way trying to close off on the back of Ayrton Senna. For Andy has also got past Alpha King, so Andy's on the charge as Bar nearly spins. I think Arise is down his inside, so Arise is trying to go down the inside of Bar. Bar needs to be careful and try and not make any contact, otherwise it's very easy to spin. As Bar actually is 7th in the championship, Arise is down in 13th, so this could be fairly critical if these two are going to be fighting later on in the constructors. Everyone goes miles wide at the hairpin. Alpha King, he's dropping down like a fly on his hard tyres, and I think Arise is going to try and go down the outside. I don't know what happened with Bar there. I think Bar dived it into the pits, but it looked like he kamikazed into one of the drivers. It's all a bit chaotic at the moment. I think Arise is trying to make the move on Alpha King, as Andy's actually in a podium position, but with the penalties that's not going to count for anything. As yeah, this race is very strange, as Alyssa Brownie says. But Arise in P5, going to try and catch up to Alpha King, try and get a podium, but on those mediums you would back him probably to get past Alpha King, as those hards don't seem very grippy at all, which would make you think Demoniac should be gaining on VIPGJ Gamer, but I think those softs, he needs to make them last more than anything, so he's going to have to be careful. But now, as I say that, he's actually starting to gain a little on VIPGJ Gamer, so encouraging stuff for the Ferrari man to get a second win. As Paul's retired, and he was leading the race at one point, so that's another retiree to the race. Evolvo will get now P11, and that's another safety car. So, as I think everyone's going to be joining the queue very fast with this one, as pretty much more or less everyone's on the back of the queue, as VIPGJ Gamer will be quite annoyed, but I think Stephen will be very happy to see the safety car come out, so he can have another chance to try and get a podium, and ignoring the penalties, which obviously weren't deserved at all. As just looking through the yeah, League Racer Online, Ayrton Senna bumped him into the wall, which is, I mean, Ayrton Senna was driving a bit erratically, and as I say that, he overtakes, I think he might have spun out tyres power there, so Ayrton Senna, he's going to have to be careful here. There's going to be a lot of investigations from him, hopefully, after the race to kind of find out if it was his fault, because it does seem as though he's being a little bit aggressive, or I say a little bit aggressive, quite aggressive in this race. As VIPGJ Game, he's just coming round turn 5 here, and he's caught up to the safety car. Demoniac catches up, and Andy's going to be catching up in absolutely no time, as I'm sure they'll all catch up pretty fast, as those teams now in P5 on those mediums, so I think he'll be able to get past Alpha King, since Alpha King's hards are going to be pretty cold probably on the safety car restart, and they're just not going to be able to warm up as fast as he would have hoped. In terms of Andy actually has penalties which probably can't get removed given their time penalties, whereas those teams were penalties under safety car. So it could be another podium for Stephen here in his second race. He's just going to have to keep a lid on how he how aggressive he drives, because after the spin I think he'll be trying to manage how hard he pushes on these sets of tyres. They will obviously make it to the end, but he doesn't want to overheat them at all. As just looking at the comments, it seems as though the F3 grid was a little bit off, so as I think it looks already like F3 hasn't finished, so it's more bad luck for F3 in terms of, I guess, the connections maybe with some of the drivers or commentators. As I have lost a commentator, but I'm lucky enough to still be here myself to witness this absolutely baffling race here in China for F4. We still got 12 drivers. Evolvo still yet to overtake Paul, but I think we're going to see one of the best overtakes of the race here. I think Evolvo is going to try and go round the outside of Paul, and it's a brilliant move, and he's up into P11 here. So Evolvo moving his way up the grid nicely here. It's P11 for Evolvo. He got past Zeke before, and I think around lap 15 after Zuka kamikazed into the wall. So Evilvo, he'll be praying to the rain gods or the F1 gods to be hoping for one more retiree as Evilvo loses it, and he's going to be dropping to the back of this train. As I say that, actually, I think we're waiting for Bar, that's it, to catch back up. And they are on lap 5 apparently, and I need to check FRL live just to check. F3 is being streamed, to be fair, so it looks like the race is still going on. I don't see any issue. I think F3, it's normal stuff for them to be that far behind us, I guess. But Bulo there actually getting a little bit racy with Ruben. As talking about racy, tyres power sadly spins on those hards, and I think those hards are really poor in these conditions because obviously warming up the tyres is an issue alone in the dry conditions, but let alone in these kind of pretty awful conditions. It reminds me of London, obviously kind of light drizzle rain, and it's not ideal for sure for those hard runners. As you can see on the track, there's a few puddles, and that's not going to give them the most grip on those hards. And I think Demoniac with another safety car, speaking of tyres, he on those softs is surely going to make it to the end as Ayrton Senna gets another 5-second penalty for colliding with R7 Cryptic. I hope he knows this is a safety car and that you're not meant to race under it. He's going to be having to have a lot of explaining, if I can get my words out, to do after the race in terms of his driving. But focusing towards the front, VIP GJ Gamer, who was kind of boasting in the F1 comments about leading the race. It's going to be interesting to see if he can keep it. The Williams man, as you can see there, obviously he's at the moment, I think, didn't finish the first race as he got disqualified. So he's P17 at the moment in the championship, and he's gone. I think he's gone. No, he hasn't gone, but now he has gone. But Demoniac, he seems to have him on strings at the moment here. He's had a really good start here. And Demoniac, it's critical that he gets ahead of VIP GTA Gamer, as I think Ayrton Senna has bottled it at the hairpin. But this is crucial in these next probably 1 or 2 laps to make the most of those soft tyres for Demoniac and get past VIP GTA Gamer, even in this next kind of sector, because if he can't do that, those softs are going to slowly get slower and slower, and those mediums are going to come into their own. So he's going to have to be careful looking around the field. In terms of overtakes, that Rise is close to Stephen, and R7 Cryptic, I think he's made the move, and Bar's off the track, and Bar has spun. And that's not great at all for the Alfa Romeos. Both of them, I think, spinning out. But then again, Bar is still just about win the race, collecting 9 points. And Evilvo is actually going to pick up points here. If he can just about finish, he's going to pick up P10, which is going to be brilliant for him after persevering through the race. Arise has got a nice switchback on O Stephen, and Arise is up into P5. It's a good move from him. And on those softs, I think Arise could be maybe a contender for the race win if he shows good pace here. He's just going to have to show that consistency, which is sometimes lacking in his driving. So on Alpha King, he's going to try and dart to the inside here. Alpha King absolutely understeers wide. I think Arise kind of just lends him a little bit of a shove there to the curb on the outside. But it does seem as though Demoniac has kind of lost track of VIP GHA game. They're still in the same shop though. So I think Demoniac has still him in his sight, so he can use that as motivation to try and get on the back of him. Demoniac in second in the championship, so this is not going to hurt him too badly at all. This consistency is really, really strong from him. The Belgian actually in his championship, with a majority of actual British grid as Rise sets fastest lap. So if Rise can get right onto the back of Andy as he starts to understeer, but he actually hits the apex of turn 2 really nicely. To turn 3. Decides to just stick it in second gear, which is clever, and he's gone full traction. I imagine he's medium traction there, was really aggressive on the throttle, but the Red Bull man, he's going to be catching up to Andy, I'm sure, in no time, if he does have the consistency about him, as that gap's 1.5, still 1.5, as Andy is actually closing in on Demoniac here, which would make you think the mediums are actually quite faster, but then Arise is gaining on Andy, so it's anyone's guess to see which are the faster tyres, apart from the hards, which are looking like they're dropping off quite a bit. Steven's going to have to try and get P5 here, because obviously with those penalties getting removed, if he can get past Alpha King, it will stand probably after the race. If he can get the penalties removed. As Arise is all over the back of Andy. He's going to have to be careful here with the overtake as well, not to spin. It's a brilliant exit for Arise, and it's going to be inside for the Red Bull, outside for the Haas. Can Andy keep it around the outside? He seems to have better straight line speed. They bang wheels a little bit. Can Arise go down the inside of Andy and make it stick? He certainly can. Arise is going to try and grab the inside. Andy gets the switch back. It's a brilliant move from Andy, but Arise isn't going to give this up. He's going to have the inside for the last corner, and they nearly touch wings onto wheel, but Andy sticks ahead. It's brilliant defending from Andy, even though he has those penalties. Keep an eye out for Steven. I think he was gonna overtake Alpha King there, but he gets overtaken by Cryptic. Steven's falling down the order here a little bit. He's gonna have to be careful not to have a spin, but then again the car behind is 7 seconds behind. As I hope I haven't jinxed it, and I have jinxed it, so that's not very great at all from me, but obviously didn't mean to. But Arise here, still on the back of Andy. These two having a nice scrap. It's for P3 and P4 in the championship. Andy obviously got P15 after retiring, and Arise got P16. So these drivers are on absolutely nupwa points, as Arise is going to try and maybe dot down the inside there for turn 8. Look for a move which wasn't there, but luckily didn't kamikaze into the side of the Haas, as they're just kind of ticking along quite nicely. The cars ahead of Demonic and VIP GTA Gamer aren't getting away too much. But at the moment it is Arise, and he's going to try and do a replica move on Andy down the inside. And I think he's going to go for the inside here again, Arise, but he needs to be careful with that switchback on Andy. They've actually got DRS here, which is easy to forget with these mixed conditions at the moment, as the Red Bull does get past Andy in a Haas. Andy, is he going to try again for the switchback? This would be absolutely brilliant, twice 2 laps in a row. And he nearly gets it, but just Arise with a dirty air cutting past him. Similar to, I guess, Bottas and Norris maybe in Hungary, as Andy absolutely cuts that last corner. This is a really good scrap between these two. Arise is looking like he's going to get a podium. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, Andy. Oh, Andy, I think, was so late there. And I think Arise has rage quit, or has he just let everyone through, which is very sportsmanlike. But Cryptic here, he's surely going to get a P4 at the minimum. As Andy, does he have a front wing? Andy still has a front wing intact, which is crazy to think, but he did just give Arise a little love tap, which turned into an absolute carnage for Arise on the left-hand side of the wall there. And that's pretty much going to be Arise's race over, as long as he can make it to the pits. Obviously, Volvo a lap down, so I don't think... hopefully Arise can get at least a minimum of P9. As both AlphaTauris, they're still in this race, so fair play to those guys to sticking in a race. A lot of people would already quit the race. I don't want to say any names, but you know. As looking at Andy, he's 4 seconds off, so that doesn't look like it's a battle. So Steven's made a move on Arise. I think Arise with his front wing, he's going to be just slugging around a circuit. So it does seem as though it's going to be P6 for Steven. As just looking in the comments, there's a lot of F3 chat, so I'm not really too sure about that myself. But Arise just pretty painful in lap to the pits, as I think Evolvo actually is going to unlap himself, or in terms of the intervals at least, probably unlap himself from Arise if he can get past him. But looking towards the gaps, I think VIP GTA Gamer, he's managed this race really well in terms of since the last safety car restart. Obviously spun, I think, at the start, possibly losing the lead down into P4 behind O'Steven, behind Zook. But he just after that as well, I think he might have made a poor strategy, as Andy's actually out. So Andy crashes out. I'm not sure where that was. It's hard to tell really, as he's absolutely gone straight into the wall there. So Andy's got either a massive slide or has called it a day there. It's a shame, another DNF for Andy after sticking in a race. Obviously on, I think it was Spain pre-season, as Demoniac, the man who won in Bahrain, the inaugural F4 race in FRL. He's 2.3 seconds behind. He's making his slots last quite nicely, but then again there was a safety car, and obviously with the rain it keeps the tyre temps quite nicely low. As the Volvo, he's going to get P9 here. I think as he is a one lap down, so hopefully for his sake, as Arise is not got damage, I dare say, after having a little spin, but after a first probably dozen laps of action, it has fizzled out here with these changing conditions. But VIP GTA game, he's going to round off the last lap, and this is hopefully for his sake going to be his first F4 win. It seems like he's got it in the bag. It'd be such a shame to see him bottle this on the last lap with 28 laps of ups and downs, and hopefully for his sake he can stay in there and manage to bring home the win to Williams after, I think, his teammate, he doesn't have a teammate I don't think for this race, as Alpha King's obviously in Alpine, and Date Night didn't turn up for this race. But VIP GTA Gamer, I mean, with these very odd conditions, I think he's probably changed his braking point from time trial to this, because it's just right bang in the middle of the wet conditions and the dry. Not quite inters, I don't think, at any point, maybe at the very start of the race, but generally it has been slick tyres throughout, as VIP GTA Gamer still looking along quite nicely, pulling a gap to Demoniac. Hopefully he doesn't have a puncture. I don't think he does, but he needs to be careful if he's to not get one, obviously, as I think Bar's spun off to P6, a bit of a kind of race to forget for Bar, even though he is going to get, just looking, I think it's going to be his best ever race, I dare say, as he got P7 last time, and this looks like P6 if he can avoid all the penalties. But it does look like VIP GTA Gamer is going to navigate the last two corners. The Williams man coming round the last corner of, I think it's turn 16, but he's going to win the Dutchman. He's had bad luck throughout, but it's his VIP GTA Gamer. He's going to take the flag for the second race of FRL. VIP GTA Gamer gets fastest lap as well, so the full 26 points, just like Demoniac did in Bahrain. It's a brilliant race from the Williams man. He definitely deserved that in Bahrain after leading, and he definitely deserves it now. Alpha King, what a surprise performance in the Alpine. He comes from absolutely nowhere to get a podium. R7 Cryptic as well, he's going to get a massive P4 for him, which is great to see after having a bit of an unlucky Bahrain race. As O. Stevens going to get P5, which without the penalties it will be P4, but still it could have been possibly a P2 finish there, which would have been I think his second best, I dare say, of or joint best, obviously, from Bahrain last week. But Bar as well gets his best result finish. Tyres Power making his debut in F4 officially. I think debut in FRL in general, as he wasn't here last season for F2. He's going to get his best ever finish of 7th, which will be obviously 6 points for AlphaTauri. Make that 7, obviously, as Volvo sadly couldn't unlap himself. Couldn't get past Andy with, I think he was maybe 2-3 laps, or maybe even 4 laps, I dare say, behind. But Arise is going to finish it off. He also gets points for the Red Bull team, as what a race from all the drivers. I think there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions after the race, so it'll be interesting to see what all the drivers have to say. Looking forward to a lot of drivers like VIP GTA game to hear them be very happy. I think getting their first ever points, as he's as you can tell, very just as happy in outside the cockpit as he is in. But it is a Dutch 1-3, as the Belgian of Demoniac is splitting a Dutch sandwich there, but he gets his second podium in a row in F4, and well, that was a pretty chaotic race to say the least. As I think still more chat about F3, as I've just realised that I'm on the F3 stream, but F3 on lap 15 at the moment. They're still going, which is good to see. Michael F1 in the lead, so he could maybe get his second victory in a row. But focusing on F4, VIP GTA Gamer does take the flag and wins his first ever race in FRL. Demoniac gets second place, which I don't think he'll be complaining about, as VIP GTA Game was quite simply, I think, probably faster. He could argue tyres, but it did seem like he deserved it. Alpkin gets his first podium in FRL. Cryptic and Bar and Ties Power and Arise and Andy, or not Andy because obviously he crashed, they all get their best finishes ever, as Illicit Brownie was the last of the DNFs, as Humanoid, Lewis and I think a few more DNF'd, as there were quite a few DNFs, and simply finishing the race and not being lapped I think would have got you P9 there, so shame to see a lot of drivers, or some drivers crashing out maybe deliberately and some obviously rage quitting, but hopefully we can get in a party with a few of these drivers. I'm gonna obviously join the F4 post-race interviews, so as we join, yes, as we should be in a party. As I think everything looks all good on my end, as we are in a F4 post-race interviews, as there is a bit of an echo, so I will have to believe it is VIP GHA Game if he's in the party, hopefully. Good. Okay, I think I know who to mute. Cool. So VIP GHA Gamer, obviously brilliant race on your end. I'm not sure whether there was any stewards inquiries there after the race in terms of obviously you got involved in probably a lot of chaos. Even though you were at the front, it wasn't the cleanest journey obviously to the top step of the podium, but all in all, do you want to just kind of summarise your first thoughts after winning your first ever FRL race?
Yeah, unbelievable. It was a chaotic race. I got a bit of Hockenheim 2019 vibes of this. And yeah, it was so hard to keep it on the track, but I managed to do it. And yeah, I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah, well, I think you go definitely right up to the pointy end of the F4 standings, and also obviously do Williams a great deal of points as well. So, obviously they're not missing today, but in terms of both championships, this is really positive, isn't it, for you? Because some would have said maybe you might have had quite a big disadvantage over Demoniac, obviously already losing 26 points in the first race, but you yourself now score 26 points in obviously China.
25.
Or 25, I think. Maybe someone stole your fastest lap towards the end. But in terms of your championship fights, do you think you feel quite rejuvenated now to maybe go on and bring the fight to Demoniac?
Yeah, it was a shame, of course, in Bahrain that I got disqualified. It was a bit of my own fault, but the game didn't tell me the right thing. But I'm sure I can take the fight to Demoniac for the championship, and hopefully I can win this season.
Yeah, and in terms of next race, which I thought was Monaco, but it's actually Spain. So I don't think you made the Spain pre-season race, did you?
Nope.
So this is going to be, I guess, your a first view after missing pre-season in terms of an FRL going to Spain. How do you think you'll fare? Do you think there's any particular corner which you might struggle on, or sector? Because obviously turn 9, there were a lot of DNFs around there. Do you think you'll be maybe struggling around that corner? But just generally around the track, is it one of your favourites?
Well, not one of my favorites, but I think the last few corners on the circuit I'm a bit bad, but the first sector and the second sector are one of my strongest, I think, and I'm confident that I can get on the podium again.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and hopefully for your sake, obviously you do, and best of luck to obviously for you get another podium. And Obviously, very well done to go and win your first race and get your first points, and obviously get your first podium all in one.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
No worries. As second place was received Demoniac, but I don't think he's in the party. And is Alpha King in the party or Cryptic?
Yes.
Oh, Alpha King's here. Okay. I'm not sure whether this is your first interview. I can't remember, but you obviously took a podium of third place after getting P4 in Bahrain, so the consistency is there from you. But would you say this podium surprised you at all? Because obviously, once again, like a lot of drivers, it was very kind of a roller coaster ride throughout the whole of the race.
Yeah, I thought about a P4. I really didn't expect an actual podium. I'm really happy with it, but the race was a roller coaster of safety cars and incidents, so that definitely helped me.
Yeah, and you do seem to capitalise on a lot of carnage generally in a lot of your races you've done, which is actually good for you. But in terms of kind of championship-wise, you look now, even though you were, I think it was 15 seconds off the lead, but considering how you came, obviously, after a good qualifying in P2, so you kind of backed it up with a nice qualifying after Bahrain, where you were a little bit lackluster in the qualifying. So this time you seem to have got your consistency down. So do you think that was something you've been practicing a lot for in China, in terms of finding that consistency, which you sort of lacked, I guess, in Bahrain?
Yeah, I definitely practiced more on China. And it was just great that it was dry, so that definitely helped instead of the race, which was rainy.
Yeah, and those conditions you did seem to thrive on in terms of the race. Obviously, it wasn't fully wet or fully dry. How difficult was it kind of weighing up the choices at the start of the race, whether to go on inters? Because no one really kind of knew on a formation lap what tyre was obviously best, as it was raining, but you did get put on dry tyres. So how did you make that call in the end, obviously to pit, I think, for inters and then later on the hards?
Well, I saw other drivers switching to dries, and I also felt that the track was definitely drying. I lost the back a lot, so I thought might as well try the hards and just finish the race on those.
And the hards did seem to be a little bit slower generally with getting up to temperature, but he did very well on them. But in terms of Spain, I don't think tyre temps will be an issue around Spain, as it is probably unlikely terrain. But what are you hoping for in Spain? What's your kind of target for the next race?
Well, I think at least the top 5, but turn 2 and turn 9 are definitely gonna be hard for me. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. As I guess best of luck to get another top 5, as that's your second top 5 in a row after obviously top 5 in Bahrain. So hope you have a good evening and best of luck for Spain.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries, as I think it's going to be R7 Cryptic, but I don't think he's in a party, so I think we'll move on to O Steven, who finished in P5, but O Steven, surely that's going to be reverted into P4 with all those kind of penalties under safety car. Do you want to just start with that and kind of take us through how that safety car unfolded with Ayrton Senna?
I'd rather not, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Absolutely disgraceful driving.
Yeah, it did.
That's all I've got to say on that matter. It's just not right, but anyway.
I mean, looking on the positives, you did qualify, I think it was P3, which was probably one of your best qualifyings ever in FRL. You put in a really strong lap, which obviously took pole initially with a 31.0. Was that any surprise to you? Did you know you had the pace there, or do you felt maybe you could have even unlocked a little bit more potential in the car?
Yes, I could have been potentially pole tonight, but I missed my lap up. But first of all, when I did get P1, I thought, oh my god, P1. I started shaking, so it was a bit of excitement, but then I was 5/10 off. But then on the last run, it did say my tyres were 6/10 faster. So
Mhm.
I thought, yes, I'm gonna have a good go, but I screwed up on the corner that goes onto the back straight. My analog stick just slipped a bit and I lost time.
Yeah.
I did improve about a tenth, but it should have been about 8/10 or 6/10, sorry.
Mhm.
And that would have put me just on pole, but it wasn't meant to be. And then the race, I just lost it after that safety car restart, and then just started going on the curbs and just spinning round. I was just pissed after that. Because I reckon maybe I could have had an outside chance of a win, because I came in the pits with 12 laps to go under the safety car. And I knew that the mediums would last, and I would have the pace in the rain. But it just wasn't meant to be. Through
Yeah,
mistakes,
yeah.
and people can't drive behind a safety car. But yeah, hopefully the stewards will see that when I send my POV in, and I'll get them 10 seconds removed. So that should put me up to 4th, hopefully.
Yeah, it's 4th, but overall I think it was a bit of a very odd race for you. I think taking provisional pole was odd enough, but a few uncharacteristic spins. I think in the first middle sector around the middle of the race, I remember you spinning after being P2. Generally, do you want to? It's very easy to kind of criticize drivers on stream, obviously, of spinning, but how difficult were the conditions on the track?
They were a bit treacherous, but for the first time, I'd probably in a long time that it's been rain, but it was a dry, like dry tyres, and it was difficult. But I just knew that if I'd like not overdo it on the corners and just because I use automatic gears, that I would spin out if I like just press down hard all the time. So just go thread it through carefully, and that did me 90% of the race that way. But I just lost concentration when with them last few laps to go after the incident and stuff. But it happens, people will learn, hopefully.
And going into Spain, I think you're going to be, I'm just checking the standings, I think it's about joint thirds with Alpha King, after Alpha King obviously got 4th and 3rd, and you've got, I think, 3rd and 4th if we ignore the penalties. You're sticking quite close to Demoniac and VIP GTA Game in a championship. So in Spain, is the aim kind of to beat them alone, or is it just to be your consistent self and go for another podium?
Just be consistent again. I actually messed up my start today. I didn't get off the line well at all. Because usually I was looking at my control and then I realised it was 5 lights and it went straight away when there's usually like a second or two. So I was caught on my heels at the start and my teammate just got past me, and then I got turned in on and spun out and lost my front wing on that first lap corner. So that was a bad start of the race. But heading on to Spain, hopefully get a podium, hopefully, or through people's mistakes and safety cars and strategies and stuff, try and win.
Yeah, obviously, best of luck around Catalonia. You haven't been, I guess, a stranger to leading the race, obviously, in F2 last season, so look forward to hopefully you being leading again and possibly even getting your first FRL win. So, but enjoy your evening after a strong P4 considering the circumstances, and best of luck around Catalonia.
Yep, hopefully I can reverse Ferrari 1 next time in Spain. But yeah, thanks for commentating.
No worries, as I don't imagine we have bar in a party, so I think, is it Tires Power, Arise, Andy, Volvo? Any one of those? Okay, then I guess maybe Ayrton Senna, Paul, or Evil Zook, as I think I have Paul muted because of the echo, so... And who's that? Ayrton Senna. So I think it's Ayrton Senna first, as it's Ayrton Senna. So it was a very kind of controversial race from yourself. You were about just about every place in terms of the race. Obviously, in terms of qualifying, you put it in P11, which meant you had a free choice of tyres. But just starting off with qualifying, do you think you could have had anything more in the tank, maybe to kind of sneak into that top 5, which were looking like the favourites probably to win the race, or do you think P11 was the best you could have hoped for?
Short answer, no. P11 was just going to be forever there.
And yeah, obviously in terms of the race, it was a little bit more interesting for you in terms of you did make up a few positions, but then fall down a few, and then go back up, and then fall down a few. But in terms of if you broke the race into 2 halves, do you think you were more strong towards the first half of the race or the second half, or just generally was it just a bit too inconsistent to kind of call?
Second, to be fair, and plus I did have a good battle with Demoniac, I think it was. That was a good battle. I like that, but lots of the race I just got pissed off at that point, and I just started driving like I didn't give any shits, to be fair, anymore. So I could say that I was driving a bit lazily at the last part of the race, which is why I might have crashed out, but and why I might have collided with Stephen in the safety car, because I'm not really expecting braking points as much as I can be when I'm concentrating.
Yeah, it was quite a, I guess, tough race in terms of concentration, as everyone spinning around and all the chaos. It was probably be quite easy to kind of lose your head, obviously in the circumstances we saw. I think Zook do as well. But in terms of, I guess, just going on to a clean slab for Spain, what are your hopes for Catalonia? Because I do think we saw you in a top 2, didn't we, in qualifying in pre-season Spain?
Yeah, P2. I think I was like 1/10 off P1 or pole position. I think it was, or was it? I think it was either 1/10 or 2/10. Can't remember, or maybe even 8.
Yeah, well, you look like you have the pace around Spain, so I think you might have. I'm not sure whether it was you or Licit Brownies crashed at turns 7 and 8. So if you can kind of keep it on the track next time for Spain, what's your kind of target?
Get a point.
Fair enough. That's quite a good target, setting the bar low, and I guess you'll hopefully for your sake tick it off next week. So best of luck in terms of Spain. Hopefully you get your first points in FRL, and hope to see you next week.
Yeah, let's see.
As next, I think is it should have been Zook. Sorry Zook, but you there, right?
I am very
Okay.
Paul's first. So.
And Paul, I think finished 14th, so we'll go you and then Paul, and I think that might be it. But well, it was a little bit of how do you put it? A bit of an off day for you compared to Bahrain. It seems as though everything went the opposite way. Obviously, Bahrain was quite frustrating as it was, but even in qualifying, it wasn't kind of your day at all, was it?
No. Basically, I decided. So it shows wet race, yeah. Assume it's a wet race. Load of wet setup. So they say, and then bloody turns out it's a dry race in the rain, and it just fucks me over. So I had to sacrificed my qualifying for nothing. So yeah, shit happens. Move on. That's all it's gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to dwell on the negatives, but you were looking good at some points, to be fair. So I think there's some kind of positives you can take from the race where you showed good pace in parts. So in terms of the best parts of the race, if you can take any onto Spain, would you say your race pace at some points was quite good? Because I think we saw you sneak into the podium positions at 1 or 2 stages during the race.
Well, I'm pretty sure when I was AI trying to connect back into my after the first disconnect, When I got back in, I think it was about lap 4. I just pitted straight away to Inters. I should have stayed out, and I was leading, but I said I'll pit. So it's because I didn't deserve to be first, because I was in AI and I was behind. I was struggling. Well, I only just got back in, so I just tried to give positions back. Then the second disconnect, I don't know what happened, and I'm going to be quite blunt. I'm probably going to get a fucking qualifying ban over that now because I haven't got a POV. In case people say it's deliberate, which it wasn't. You can ask the OP Gamer or Bar. I disconnected out the session and I crashed.
Yeah, it's going to be. Well, I think the studio's going to have quite a hands-on for this race, so I think there will be a lot of leniency. And given I know, obviously, looking down at the bottom middle of the stream, just seeing you disconnect quite a lot, I think it was quite obvious to tell that there was some sort of internet issues, either my end, your end, or just the PS4 end. So I think you might be safe from that one. But in terms of Spain, we do look on the positive side of Spain. You did get your best ever finish in Bahrain, so you do have in this season already your best finish in FRL. So hopefully in Spain, do you think possibly you can get P4 or better and try and get another best ever in FRL?
I think over Bahrain and whatever the laps I did here in China, I think I've proven a few people wrong and I've shown some good pace. So if I can get a really good setup for Spain, I think I could possibly sneak onto the podium. Obviously, I've had bad luck first 2 races. Obviously, spin, Bahrain, disconnect. Hopefully, this bad luck can wear off and wear on to someone else. Hint, hint, Stephen. No, I'm joking. But yeah.
I think he's had enough as it is.
Bad luck, guys.
But yeah,
I'll
to
give
be
it to
fair,
Demoniac, don't worry.
Yeah, Demoniac's probably the only one who's actually
have bad luck.
clean.
He can have a bad luck.
Yeah, but in terms of Spain, obviously, best of luck there, and hopefully you can avenge a little bit of a poor performance. Just waiting for you to finally get on the top step of the podium. I'm sure it will come one race or another. So, best of luck in terms of Spain. I think a lot of people will be expecting big things from you, and best of luck till then.
Thank you, and thank you for commentating up yours, Virgin Media.
Yeah, no problem. As I think Paul, if hopefully he's still around in this party. Well, it was a little bit of an off kind of day for you in terms of, as I think we hopefully still have Paul. But yeah, in terms of the race, you were actually leading at one point, so it was looking fairly promising. But then, obviously, there was a few spins here and there. So, in terms of just the mistakes, do you want to take us through kind of why you conceded the lead? But yeah. Yeah, and that was a bit of a shame because in terms of the first half of the race, it did seem as though Inters at some points were actually faster than the dry tyres. But in terms of towards the end, I think you were running in quite a good position. Maybe you think 4th, I dare say, in a safety car restart, and then I think it was a spin or something. So, how would you say if hopefully Paul, you're still there? How was in terms of the race towards the end of or after the safety car? Mhm. 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 Yeah, I think a lot of people have bad luck, but yours went unseen. Obviously, that's just not the way you want it to end as the safety car. Also, once again, like Bahrain, kind of spilt up a few incidents to say the least. But looking on the bright side in terms of Spain, were you racing in pre-season Spain? I'm not too sure either, but I remember I don't think you finished though. We only had 3 finishes. So is your aim quite simply to knowing how kind of deadly turn 9 is, with a lot of people crashing there? Do you think you can just finish the race and get some points? Ah. That makes a lot of sense. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and obviously getting your best ever in 6th in Bahrain. I'm sure in Spain, hopefully you can replicate it or even better it and get a top 5. So best of luck in Barcelona. Hopefully you do get right up into the thick points playing positions and pole. We'll see. We'll see until then. I think that's quite a ballsy prediction, but you know, best of luck until then. Yeah, hopefully you get a podium. Yeah, no worries, no worries. As I think that is the last interview, unless I'm mistaken. I'll check the party, but nah, yes, that is the last interview. And once again, thanks for watching this pretty hefty long F4 stream with a lot of safety cars, but I think F3, if I think they are still racing. So once again, we finished miles ahead of F3 as they have awful.
F3 have just finished.
Yeah, I mean they have awful internet connections. So if you're watching F4, thanks for watching. You picked the best stream, and hope to see you next week for Spain. Nearly said next season, but see you until then. Hopefully for a cracker and.